No Budget RC here. Recently had a couple of friends ask me about the suspension setup that I'm running on my scx10 too. And what I'm running is the Traxxas big bore shocks, and running them in kind of a unique setup. I don't have a lot of down travel, but I have a lot of upward travel. Now I'll take the body off and give you guys a better look at what's going on with the suspension setup. So, you see it better from that side. We got there is a Traxxas big bore shock, and the springs that are on there are actually for a Losi Mini T front springs. Actually, they come in a set of 6 springs, 3 different stiffnesses. And there's little short guys there, and same on the back, just running a different spring rate on the back. And well, you can see it. Spin this thing around, probably see it a little better on the rear shocks. But what we've got in here is that little spring retainer. You can see the spring actually fits over it pretty tight. But that is the spring retainer that I'm running. And it does a good job of holding that spring. Those spring retainers are from Deluxe Fab. Kind of see the sticker in there. Anyways, they're from Deluxe Fab, and they come with these little rubber O-rings. And I actually am running those on the front, so let me bring you back to the front here. Those are little preload O-rings that you can put on there. And I've got 2 of them there on the front, as you can see there, to add a little bit more preload to the front suspension. And up top here, those shock standoffs, those are also from Deluxe Fab. Those are especially for the Traxxas big bore shocks. And what they do is they just allow you to be able to get a little better suspension. Doesn't, it keeps it from binding. Allows that top of that shock to move all over so it doesn't bind up. And on the rear here I have, these are, I believe, from Hot Racing, because the shocks were a little longer than what I wanted. And that way I could sit the suspension down a little lower. And these are actually there's 3 different lengths of Traxxas big bores. These are the longest, and honestly I wish I would have gone with the medium length ones, because these are a little longer than what I want. When they're fully extended, it's more suspension travel than what I need. But yeah, there's 3 different lengths. I believe it's like 110, 190 millimeter or something like that. And so these would be the 110s if I'm correct on those lengths. And this is the packaging that the Traxxas big bores came in. And basically you just need the main shock. You don't need any of the other stuff, but there's the part number 2662. And then like I said, the spring retainer and the shock standoff, those are from Deluxe Fab. And all in all, I really like this setup. The Traxxas big bores, they have that little step right there, and these springs just fit perfectly right in there. And there's some other companies you can get the spring retainers from. You can actually get them from Beef Tubes, but they were sold out at the point where I was ordering my stuff. And that's how I discovered the Deluxe Fab also had the standoffs. And it's a pretty cool suspension system. I really like the way it performs. Like I said, it doesn't give you a whole lot of down travel, but it gives you a lot of up travel. And Gives you plenty of flex. See if I can get a flex shot in here. So, I mean, plenty of flex. I'm not one of those guys that's into the whole Flex Friday thing. Actually, like I said, I wish I would have gone with the medium length. You know, this is actually more flex than what I use. But, you know, like I said, I had a couple guys who were asking me about it. What shocks I was running and, you know, what the setup was. And, so I thought I'd do a quick video and show you guys in case anyone else was thinking about doing this setup and maybe didn't know where to get the spring retainers or the standoffs. And I've also seen people do this without using the standoffs. Just put a spacer in there to keep the shock from hitting the shock tower. But I went with these because I think they were like $7 for a pair of them or something. And you know, it gives you nice and loose, no binding. So that's really all I had for this video. Just wanted to show you guys this shock setup if you hadn't seen it, or if you'd heard of people running Traxxas big bores on their crawlers and you're wondering how they do it. My understanding is you can also run Traxxas big bores and run your stock scx10 springs on them, and just run the stock spring retainer, and then of course the spring will sit all the way up top like the stock spring would. Actually seen people do that. I just went with this setup because I kind of like the fact that it, you know, how it just gives you a little bit of downward travel, but you have a whole ton of upward travel. I just like that setup. It's worked really well for me. Actually running, I believe it's 35 weight in the front and 30 in the rear. And I might do some changing on that, depending on what terrain I'm running in. And, you know, I'm actually kind of been thinking about stepping up to maybe a 40 weight in the front and a 35 in the rear, or 40 weight all the way around and trying that. But really, that's, you know, I just want to show you guys the suspension setup in case you had been hearing about people running Traxxas big bore shocks and were wondering how they were doing it and what the setup was. And also want to let you guys know I do a RC podcast if you're interested. You can check that out on any of your podcasting apps. It's also No Budget RC Podcast. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Please thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't.